Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of Disney Treats Gone Keto. In today's episode we're going to tackle the gray stuff. I've never tried it, so it's gonna be hard to compare and tell you if it actually tastes like the gray stuff that they sell at the parks, but I can tell you if it tastes good. First things first, for the gray stuff to be gray, it needs crushed Oreos. Since this is a keto recipe, then I had to make my own Oreos. So I'm going to link that video in the description box in case you haven't watched it and you're interested. I'm currently baking those Oreo cookies and I still need to wait for them to cool down so that they get crispy enough, and then I have to crush them to make the gray stuff. Now, I was thinking, how are you supposed to eat the gray stuff? Do you just eat it with a spoon? I'm not too sure. So I think that I've seen it used as frosting on top of cupcakes. So I feel like that's what I want to do, and I'm going to be baking some Mickey Mouse shaped cupcakes. And the recipe I am getting from, let me give credit to the person who deserves this, a website called Castle in the Mountains. I am going to link the recipe in the description box just because they deserve that credit, right? So I have a bowl here and it basically says to mix all the wet ingredients and then in a separate bowl mix all the dry ingredients and then mix them together, pour it in your mold or pans or whatever, and then bake it at 350 for 20 to 25 minutes. So that's what I'm gonna do now. Starting with the dry ingredients, notice that this time I went with a black jersey. I'm not making that mistake again. Last time I wore a white one if you didn't watch it, and that was a mistake. So 2 cups of almond flour are going in. 1 cup of the sweetener of your choice. I have a mix of monk fruit, the Lakanto brand, and also some Swerve. They're both golden because I don't know, that's what I buy, but it doesn't say that that's what it has to be. I actually think that they were going for the like white kind, but I have this one. Half a cup of cocoa powder, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, and mix it. All right, this is what that looks like. So now I'm gonna get another bowl to mix all the wet ingredients. The wet ingredients are, I'm starting with half a cup of butter in there, 1 teaspoon vanilla extract, half a cup of milk. The recipe calls for almond milk, but I don't have that, so I'm just gonna use the 2% milk that I have at home. Half a cup of heavy cream, and 2 eggs. The recipe specifies that they have to be at room temperature, so I guess that's very important. And mix it. Okay, so I'm just going to combine them and mix it with a spatula. So I think that worked good enough. So now I'm going to take my Mickey mold and I'm going to spray it with some avocado oil first, and then I'm just gonna put this in here. Right, done. I didn't film that process because you all know what that looks like. I only filled them up like halfway because I don't know if these are gonna grow, so just in case, that's what I did. Now I'm gonna put them in the oven at 350 for 20 minutes, but I'm gonna keep an eye on it because the recipe and the timing is for a bigger cake, so these might be ready sooner than that. It is the next day. Yesterday I started filming very late at night, so I couldn't finish the video. But at least I baked the Oreo cookies and I left them cooling so that they would crisp up. And I also baked the Mickey shaped cupcakes, and I also left them cooling so that then we can like pipe the gray stuff on top. Well, maybe not pipe so much, maybe more like just like throw a dollop on top. We'll see, but at least they are cool now. So what I'm going to do now is take the Oreo cookies and put them in the food processor so that I can crush them very finely, because from what I understand, that's what makes the gray stuff gray. Here I have the Oreo cookies, and now I'm just gonna put them here in the food processor. And I don't think that my gray stuff is going to be gray just because I'm not using the dark cocoa, so this one is going to be more like the brown stuff, but that's gonna be okay, right? The important thing is that it's keto and it tastes good. All right, I think that's good. What do you think? Yep. Okay, so for the actual gray stuff, I was reading online and I looked at several recipes, and most of them seem to think that the base of the gray stuff is vanilla pudding. So obviously that means that I have to make keto vanilla pudding. So let's start with that. Okay, so for the pudding, we're going to mix everything in this little saucepan, and I set the stove on low, and I'm gonna add 1 cup of heavy cream, 3 egg yolks, 1 teaspoon vanilla extract, and 3 tablespoons of, it calls for erythritol, but I found this at the grocery store, and I think this is gonna work better for the consistency of pudding, so I'm gonna use 3 of those. I don't know if you can use the same amount or if this is sweeter, but I'm just gonna do 3. I love sweet stuff, so if it's too sweet, it's not a problem for me. Right, that's 3. Now I'm just going to constantly stir this until it starts to thicken up, and according to the instructions, it's done when it covers the spatula and it doesn't run down. So I'm not sure how long that's gonna take. I'll let you know. It's been almost 25 minutes and it is starting to thicken up. Now the timing might change depending on how fast your stove heats up, or if you're using gas versus electric. But I think this is almost done. This is what it looks like on the spatula. It still runs down a little bit, but it is thickening well, and I'm sure that I can take it off the heat in, I'm gonna say maybe like 5 more minutes. It's been exactly 30 minutes and I think it's ready. This is what it looks like on the spatula. So I think this is the consistency that we're looking for. What I'm gonna do now is transfer it to this glass container, and then I'm going to cover that with some cling wrap, put it in the fridge for 1 hour. And well, the recipe says at least 1 hour. It's actually going to be there for many hours because I have to run out and do some things outside of the house, so we'll come back tonight and finish this recipe. It's nighttime already and I'm hoping that I can finally finish this recipe. For that, I'm going to whip 1 cup of heavy cream, the original recipe calls for 1 tablespoon, or is it 1 teaspoon? I can't remember, of chocolate pudding powder. Obviously, I don't have the keto version for that, but I'm thinking, what if I just put a little bit of cocoa to give it that chocolate flavor. It's not gonna add sweetener because I'm sure that the pudding, the chocolate pudding powder has sweetener in it, but at least it'll give it some chocolate flavor, right? So I don't know how much to use. I don't want to overdo it, but I think I'm gonna add just like this much, and I'm gonna mix that in first. Perfect. I'm going to add 1 cup of milk and mix it well. And finally, I'm just going to fold in the pudding, which has been sitting in the fridge for like, I don't know, like 6 hours, and the cookies. I don't know if I need all those cookies. I mean, I don't know. The original recipe calls for 16 Oreo cookies, and I really don't know what that looks like. So, I don't know. This looks too liquidy for that, but I followed the instructions of the original gray stuff, so I'm hoping that I didn't mess it up, but it really does look too liquidy. Oh no! Here goes the cookies. Do I need that much? I don't know, that seems like too much to me, but... Okay, let's just do it all. I feel like something went wrong. I think that maybe the milk was an extra thing that I shouldn't have added, but I did already, so what are you gonna do? Yeah, this is definitely too liquidy. Anyway, I'm gonna taste it just to see if I have to adjust the taste, and if I do, I'm gonna add some of that liquid sweetener. I tried it and it tastes delicious, but it definitely needs some sweetener, at least for my taste. So I'm gonna add some. I'm just eyeballing it. I love doing things like this. I love testing recipes like this that I've never done before, because I mess up so that you don't have to. You can learn from my mistakes. I would recommend not adding the milk. I don't know why that recipe calls for that, because the gray stuff, it's a lot thicker than this. And actually the recipe called for 1.5 cups of milk, and I thought that that was too much, and I added a little bit less than a full cup, and it still did this. So, I mean, I don't know, maybe I have to put it in the fridge for a little bit. I'm gonna do that. Okay, so now I'm just gonna lick the spatula because it's really good. I'm gonna put this in the fridge for an hour and see if it thickens up. Even after 1 hour of being in the fridge, it is still very liquidy. Maybe thicker than it was, but it's definitely not the consistency of frosting. So I don't understand where I went wrong. I'm thinking maybe because the pudding, the keto pudding, doesn't have the thickening agents that the regular pudding has. Maybe that's why the regular recipe can add the milk, and maybe keto recipe shouldn't do it. So just keep that in mind. If you're going to try it, do not add the milk. But this tastes good, so I'm just going to put it on top. These are my Mickey cupcakes. They're super pretty. I'm just going to put some of this on top and enjoy it like that. It's time to give it a taste, so I'm gonna go ahead. Can't wait. I have been waiting for this since yesterday. The time is finally here. And you know what? I think that I might put the gray stuff in the freezer and see how it does. Maybe it turns into ice cream-ish. We'll see. But let's try this. This is really good. I mean, obviously, it's not really the gray stuff. The texture is very different from what I've seen. Like I said before, I've never tried it. But the cake is delicious. I absolutely recommend it. And the gray stuff tastes amazing. So the combination of both is really good. I'm very happy with this as my dessert for dinner today. Or maybe I should say tonight. And I will definitely do this again. Just without the milk, without adding the milk. This is fantastic. If you have the time, I absolutely recommend doing it. Just make sure that you bake your cookies ahead of time, because you need to let them cool so that they get crispy, and then you can ground them, and that's it. That, and do not add the milk. Those are my 2 tips for the day. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you make this recipe. Well, the adjusted recipe. And I'll see you in my next video. Bye!